Hi and welcome back to Brainbox Unleashed. This is the third part of the chapter Cultural Change from the book Social Change and Development in India. If you have missed the first part of the chapter and would want to watch it, you can click on the link at the upper right hand corner of your screen, or you can click on the eye icon on the upper right hand side. In this video, we'll talk about modernization and secularization. So let's begin. Now, what is modernization? We'll start with modernization. Now, previously, modernization it referred to improvement in technology and production process. Okay, so it only meant whenever there was a technological advancement and productivity increased, so that was modernization. But later, it gained a wider usage. It started to mean a lot of other things as well. Later, the path of development that was taken by Western European countries and North America, so that referred to as modernization. Okay. Now, when modernization can also mean when people are influenced by universal values instead of local values. Okay. So now people are influenced not just by local values and context, but by global ideas. Thoughts of the people are no longer decided by the family or tribe, caste, or community they may belong to. Okay, so they get influenced by global ideas. The job that the people do as well is no longer decided by birth but by choice. So, earlier, as we have learned, caste determined the jobs that the people did, right? If somebody was a Brahmin, they would maybe be a priest, they would maybe be a teacher, or who practiced law. If somebody was a Kshatriya, then they would maybe become a noble warrior, or maybe a governor, administrator. Then a Vaishya would become a businessman, Shudra would become maybe a cleaner, sweeper, servant, right? But now, in present times, if a country or if a society is modern, if it has modernized itself, then the people can choose their own jobs, right? Now, rational thought and scientific thought matter more. Okay, so now people, if they see something, they try to rationalize it, they try to analyze it in a rational manner, in a scientific manner. Okay, suppose if a cat crossed the road, for example, it's a classic example. Now, people in earlier times, they would think it meant a bad omen, right? A black cat crossing the road was something upshagun, right? So it was not very good thing to be happening. But if you try to analyze it in a scientific way, you can say that maybe the cat crossed the road because it wanted to get to the other side, right? And the road was just on its way, so that's why it had to cross it, right? It's as rational as it can get. But all these ideas of modernization, can can we say that it is true for India? Has India modernized along these ideas, along these lines? We can see that in a bit. Now, first, let us see about what secularization is. In sociology, secularization means the transformation of a society from close identification with religious values and institutions towards non religious values and secular institutions. So, when a society changes in such a manner that it identifies more with non religious values rather than religious values, and the society now has secular institutions instead of religious institutions, then that society is secularized, it's secular. Okay, so that is what sociology means. Sorry, that's what secularization means in sociology. Or in simple words, in other words, we can mean it can mean a process of decline in the influence of religion. When a society uh, in a society, when religious influences decrease, when there is a decline in religion, then that is secularization. Now, theorists of modernization, they assume that when a society becomes modern, when it becomes rational. Secular, uh, it becomes more secular. Religious authority diminishes when a society becomes modern. So that is the assumption of most of the modernization theorists. Okay, so we will see if that is true in the case of India or not. Now let us see how modernization and secularization is in India. We can ask two fundamental questions here. Is India modern, and is it secular in the strictest sense? Can we say that India's culture is a mix of tradition and modernity? That both tradition and modernity exists in India? Or like, and we would be asking this question if we thought tradition and modernity are fixed entities and they don't change. Okay, but that is not true. Tradition and modernity, they are not fixed entities, they are constantly changing. Or does India have just one set of traditions? No, we cannot say that, because both plurality, that means yes, we have a mix of tradition and modernity, we have plurality and a tradition of argumentation in our culture, in our tradition. And these ideas or these features are being constantly redefined. Now, what does tradition of argumentation mean? Now, it means that suppose we can justify our actions, certain actions, and say that because of culture we are doing this, because we have always been doing this, and that's why we are doing it now. So we use culture to justify our actions. So that is tradition of argumentation. Okay. So you can see that plurality also exists, as well as tradition of argumentation also exists. Okay. Now, modernization and tradition, they cannot be completely separated. It does not mean that tradition is at one end of the stick and modernity is at the other end of the stick. No. Okay. Why? Because no country can be wholly modern or wholly traditional. Yes, a country can be more traditional instead of being more modern, and a country can also be more modern instead of being very traditional. For example, India is more modern. India is more traditional than modern, right? But that does not mean India is not modern. And if you look at America, America is more modern than traditional, but that does not mean cultural ideas, traditional ideas doesn't exist in American society. So you can also see, for example, Japan. Now, Japan is a highly modernized country, right? It has high technological development there, but it is still deep rooted in culture. They still hold cultural values close to their heart, right? So there is a gap, yes, between the two, but there is also a bridge there. It is not completely separated. Okay. Sometimes for certain countries modernization may happen fast, whereas in some other countries it may happen slowly. And it is assumed that before modernization a country has to be industrialized and urbanized. But that is also not always the case, because you see Punjab, you can take the example of Punjab. Punjab is urbanized but it is not industrialized. And also several African countries, industrialization came after modernization. So it became modern first and then it was industrialized. Now people also confuse modernization with westernization. Uh, for example, if I give you an example, uh, a person, he has been smoking and drinking and wearing jeans and t-shirt. So is that person modern or is he westernized? He is westernized, right? So people might think he's that whatever he is doing, that person, that may be because he's modernized. No, that is not the case. Now westernization means what? It means when a non-Western country gets influenced by the ideas, culture, lifestyle of a Western country, right? And they try to copy it. So then that is called Westernization. But modernization means a rational thought, scientific thought, improvement in technology. So that is modernization. Now in India, when the British came, they brought with themselves Western ideas, right? And they kind of forced it on us. And most of the times people get confused between modernization and Westernization because we don't exactly know what Western culture stands for, or what the word modern should mean for us. So that's where the confusion happens. Okay. Now modernization is a more broader concept, and Westernization is just a part of it. Okay. Now if you say a society is modernized, does that mean cultural elements cannot exist there, or that cultural identity of that society has been destroyed? No. If a country is modernized, does not mean it has to let go of its culture. But yes, if a country is westernized, yes, then there will be a decline in their cultural identity, in their cultural values. Okay, so the two are different. Now modernization doesn't have any value attached to it, but westernization has a value attached to it. Okay, now let us see if how secularization, how the uh, context of secularization in the case of India can be understood. In India, emergence of modern means of communication, ideas and organization led to the emergence of new kinds of religious reform movements. Like we saw in the 19th and 20th century, when during the British rule, when modern means of communication started coming up, like the printing press or the telegraph, or modern means of transportation started coming up, like the railways, right? That time religious values actually didn't decline in India. It didn't mean that people started, letting go of their religious ideas, influences. No. Instead, a change happened in those ideas. How? Religious reform movements started, and it actually spread all over India because of these modern means. Right? People from one area, a reformer from one area could now go to another area and preach about his ideas. Right? For example, if you see Brahmo Samaj, now Brahmo Samaj, they believed in monotheism, believed in one God. Now, and they started going and started telling people to believe in one God and not to do idol worship. So that was a kind, they were trying to bring in a change in religion, in the religion, but not completely destroy religion. Then you had All India Muslim Ladies Conference, where they started fighting against polygamy and the parda system that was there in the Muslim community. So you can see religious reform started. Now, when a religious ritual is performed, it is not always meant to gain some kind of a spiritual or religious goal. It can also people may also perform certain kinds of ritual in order to gain secular goals. For example, if someone wants more wealth, they might perform a religious ritual for it, right? So a religious ritual can have a secular goal, and the process of that ritual can have secular dimensions. For example, a wedding ceremony, now that is a religious ritual, right? Religious rituals are performed in that ceremony. Now in that ceremony, people may also use that ceremony as an opportunity to display their family wealth, how much money they have spent in that ritual, in that ceremony, or how many VIP cars are standing outside their house. It may show how much wealth they have, how much, what their social status is. Okay, or they can also use it as an opportunity to, catch up with their family, with their friends, relatives. So it may have secular dimensions. A religious ritual might have secular dimensions. So you see, the word or the concept of secular cannot be completely separated from religion. They are coins, they are two sides of the same coin, right? Now in India, when you look at the political point of view, in India, our constitution says that we have a fundamental right to profess, preach, and practice any religion, right? And the state does not have a particular religion, but it has to treat all other religions equally. Now, although this has been mentioned in the constitution, okay, when was the word secular included in the constitution? It didn't happen when the constitution was written and first adopted in 1950. It didn't happen then. The word secular was inserted in the Indian constitution in 1976 by the 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act. Okay, and but although we are a secular nation, although we claim to be a secular nation, yet there are inconsistencies in that statement. Okay, all forms of public life is not secular in India. People are very deeply emotional about religion here, and this these emotions are being misused by political parties. They play on these emotions and they use it to garner votes for their political parties. Okay, and similar case can be seen in the for caste as well. Now we will learn about secularization of caste. Let us see what that means. In traditional India, caste system operated within a religious framework. For example, caste system was there mainly in the Hindu society, right? In the Hindu religion. So it was within Hinduism. Belief systems of purity and pollution were central to its practice. Now it was believed that some castes were pure and some castes were impure, and some castes were untouchables altogether, right? But now you cannot practice untouchability. It has been abolished by the Indian Constitution, Article 17. It abolishes untouchability. Okay, and if anybody is caught doing that, they may be penalized. So the concept of caste has also changed in recent times. Now caste doesn't function like it used to do in ancient India or in colonial India. It doesn't function that way. Now they act more as political pressure groups. Now what does that mean? Now you can see caste associations coming up. People organize themselves according to their castes, and even caste-based political parties have come up, which look after the needs and interests of certain castes, like the Bahujan Samaj Party. Now, that party it takes up the interests of scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, and the other backward classes. Okay, and they these caste groups, they whatever demands they have, they do it through these associations and political parties. Now if they want something, maybe say reservation for their caste, they will go through these channels. Okay, so the role of caste has changed in modern India or contemporary India, and this is what is known as secularization of caste. We have come to the end of this chapter. I hope I have helped you understand the concepts that were taught today. If you found this video helpful, you can give it a thumbs up or leave me a comment in case you need to convey anything to me. Thank you for watching, and do check out other videos from my channel. Bye bye.